This is Lawrence Sanek at the House Seller, House Buyer podcast, brought to you today by Castle Dream Real Estate with episode number 1. Episode number 1 is the inaugural podcast for sellers. I will be briefly discussing just some of the items that a seller needs to take into account when they're selling their home. We will be going into more depth on these and other issues in our future podcasts. Well, let's get started. This will be a brief description of some of the topics, not all, that we will cover in our future podcasts. So sellers, how do buyers shop for homes? If you're wondering what your realtor is going to do to market your home, you should know that the effectiveness of advertising has changed, especially with the advent of the internet. Newspapers, home magazines, and flyers are no longer the major players in marketing your home. What do buyers want? That's the grail of home sales. What is it that buyers actually want? Agreeably, this will differ with each buyer, but it's pretty easy to generalize about things buyers look for in a home, and it's just as easy to say what they don't want. For starters, we will look at some of the general things that buyers like to see when looking for a new home, and then we'll move on to the no list. When you sell your house, you are usually looking to make some profit in the deal and close the deal as quickly as possible. The key to selling your home quickly and getting as close to your asking price as possible is to know what buyers look for in a house. Once you understand those features that can sell a home, you can get your house sold more quickly. So if you want to sell your home fast, think like a buyer. Most sellers expect their home to sell quickly at the best price possible. They believe their home is the best in the area and that their improvements demand top dollar. How can you trust that this is true? Just ask any seller. They will tell you. Many sellers hire a listing agent but do not want to take their advice. They consider themselves or their neighbors, friends, or family to be the experts. Often they tend to negotiate their listing price with their agents rather than looking at the facts. Then they wonder why their home is sitting while others are selling. Beware sellers. Buyers today are smart. Sellers need to realize that they cannot sell their home if no one looks at it. Today's buyers are extremely tech savvy and they do their homework before they consider a home. In this age of technology, a buyer will not look further if there's no virtual tour, or at the very least, an array of photos of the property. We'll also talk about what else buyers are looking for when they're looking for that home. Buying a home on the internet. When tax time rolls around, I sometimes think about the consequences of using TurboTax versus hiring a professional CPA, and how that kind of thinking also relates to home buyers and sellers who don't want to hire a real estate agent. Some think that finding homes online or selling by themselves is easy without bother with an agent. I've used a CPA and I've watched our tax liability shrink incredibly before my eyes. It makes me feel like I should have hired a CPA years ago. Saving a $500 tax preparer fee actually ended up costing money in the long run when I could have saved thousands in taxes. Duh, that was dumb. We're going to give you some home selling tips. The info buyers need. You've heard the usual selling tips. Clean the place up, get the help you need, price it right, which is all good advice. But what about the more direct path of the sales process? Advertising, marketing, talking to prospective buyers? Do you know what to say in your advertisements, flyers, and in person? You should tell buyers almost everything. Of course, you don't reveal your motivations or how low you'll go on the price or anything else that hurts your negotiating position, but tell them everything else they might want to know. Oh, we have 90 ways to sell your home faster and for money. The rule of thumb is if something needs repair, fix it. There are probably many things in your home that you have simply become used to over time, things that you have been promising yourself that you will attend to. Well, now is the time. the buyer will mentally add up the cost of repairing all those minor flaws and end up with an amount that is generally much higher than what it would cost you to do the repairs. Every area of the home must sparkle and shine. Each hour spent will be well worth it. Would you rather buy a clean car or a dirty one? Would you hurry to buy a pair of shoes with mud on them? I think enough said on that. Color psychology. Choose the right color to sell your home. Is there a science behind selecting the right colors to sell your home? In Realtor magazine, experts in the field of design psychology learn how the color on walls may affect buyers' moods. For years, psychological research has been offering insights into how the brain reacts to color choice. Such research is often tapped by the marketing field in marketing products more desirable to buyers. Can these same studies be applied to motivating such big purchases as a home? It's a leap, but at a subconscious level, certain colors on walls may evoke buyers who enter a home feel more welcome and warmer, which may be particularly nice for homes in chilly areas of the country. Selling your home. Improve it to move it, but don't overspend. The housing market is a fluid, living thing that constantly changes. In an interview, Sandy Wentworth, realtor for the Jones Group in Amherst, Massachusetts, stated, "I learned the best tips about which renovations to work on and which to avoid if you are selling your home. You want to spend the right amount of money to get the best return. For every dollar you put in, you want to be able to get at least that or more back." She added that it's important to not price yourself out of your neighborhood. For example, you don't want to put a high-end kitchen in a tiny ranch house. You don't want to over-improve. Anything you can do to lighten or brighten a space, such as lighter curtains instead of heavy drapes, will work in your favor. If you have a real dark room, you may want to consider a skylight. Home selling mistakes. Thinking your home is the exception. It's natural to be emotionally attached to your home, especially if you've lived there a long time. But allowing this affection to obscure the realities of today's real estate market is a serious mistake. If your local market is declining in value, you'll need to price your home at a compelling level. That will require a painful decision to price the property at or below comparable homes in the area, even if the price point is less than what you think your home is worth. There are still sellers out there who think that their house is the exception. They think that the other houses that are on the market are really overpriced. Yet when you get to their house, they think it should have a higher price because it's better. Overpricing a home because of an emotional attachment only makes selling it much more difficult. Oh yes, top reasons to fire your home seller client. Selling a house is a very difficult job. You want to sell your home as quickly as possible and at its full value. You must also be aware of state and federal laws and how they affect your sale. This involves a lot of time, effort, and patience, as well as specialized skills and knowledge. That is why most people turn to a realtor for help. When you sell your home, the realtor will work with you as a client. You sign a contract with the agent called a listing contract. The agent then works for you and receives an agreed commission when the house is sold. In a seller-client relationship, the realtor guides you through the real estate transaction, providing information on such issues as pricing your home, which purchase offers are fair, and how to structure a purchase contract to your advantage. It is the business of the realtor to help you sell your home with minimum delay and to help you realize every dollar it's worth. We'll discuss the reasons why some realtors fire their clients. The top 10 worst home showing offenses. When it comes to presenting a home to buyers, some sellers are clueless. Are your sellers' homes leaving buyers with a bad impression? Realtor magazine received responses from buyer agents who revealed their pet peeves when touring homes with clients. Offenses that they say have buyers racing for the door. These situations have to be proved frustrating and embarrassing to my buyers and me, and you'll learn what those offenses are. And then we'll also go to the Hall of Fame of worst showing offenses. Put kitty litter boxes and dirty dishes in the sink aside. Some buyer agents say they have seen much worse when touring homes with their clients. We'll discuss some of those Hall of Fame of worst showing offenses. Reasons home don't sell. Why do some houses sell and others don't? There's no ultimate answer to this question, but Tribune Media Services columnist Alec Klink has a theory, and we'll discuss that theory in that podcast. We also have 7 tips to sell your home faster to a younger buyer. We need to educate sellers about the audience the realtor will be marketing to is one of the most important things that can be done. When your home is put on the market to sell, you should know that the next owner will likely be younger than you are. That's why you should stop thinking about what you like or what you want in a home and start thinking about what your most likely buyer will want, which is younger. 5 questions a buyer considers before making an offer. Today's buyers do more legwork than any other generation of home buyers on everything from mortgage rates and programs to neighborhoods and schools to comparables for the home they want, because so much of this information is freely and easily accessed online. But none of that information diminishes the anxiety around making the final decision what number to ink onto an offer for a home. In fact, this inundation of information can shift a normally sane buyer into overwhelm and overload and actually interfere with smart decision making. This decision of what to offer to pay for a particular home is particularly high stakes, one you don't want muddled by panic or irrelevant inputs. On this one number hinges whether a particular home becomes their home or not. It also represents a near final step in one of the biggest financial commitments anyone ever makes. Appraisals. Why would a seller want to get an appraisal? In Bankrate's annual closing cost survey, the average appraisal cost around $400. Buyers sometimes pay for the appraisal when it takes place, and other times the fee is included in the closing costs paid on the settlement day, the day actual closing takes place. But why would a seller want to get an appraisal? Because a real estate appraisal helps to establish the property's market value, the likely sales price it would bring if offered in an open and competitive real estate market. The lender is going to require an appraisal when someone asks to buy a home and use that home as security for a loan. And they want the appraisal because they want to make sure the property will sell for at least the amount of money it is lending. Don't confuse a comparative market analysis, or CMA, with an appraisal. Realtors use CMAs to help sellers determine a realistic asking price. Experienced agents often come very close to an appraisal price with their CMAs, but an appraiser's report is much more detailed and is the only valuation report a bank will consider when deciding whether or not to lend the money. So you as a seller, wouldn't you want to have an appraisal so that you know what your home is worth? And then when you have an offer that you accept, you know it will close? Also, why would a seller want a home inspection? Do you need a home inspection? Before you sell a home, one of the things you should do is have the home checked out by a professional home inspector. Selling a home is expensive enough as it is. Why would you choose to spend an additional $400 if you're not required to? Well, we're going to delve into a home inspection and reveal why you shouldn't forego this optional procedure. Because there are times when that inspector is hired by the buyer and he comes in and he finds problems. These problems convert to possibly no deal closing. So why wouldn't you want to have an inspection to make sure there are no problems? Because the buyer is going to get an at-home inspection. Once we get through these and many other issues, it's time to move. Well, we have 5 cost-saving tips for moving time when you need to move. And you don't have to pay full freight. My goodness, a cross-country move can cost as much as $8,000 to $10,000 or more. And there are different avenues to look at to help reduce those costs. That will be in another podcast. Thank you for listening to episode number 1, because it's you, the listeners, that we want to keep informed. You can find the show notes at www.homesellerhomebuyer.com, and you can leave your comments, questions, and suggestions there, or you can email us at info@homesellerhomebuyer.com. Also, don't forget to check out this episode's sponsor, Castle Dream Real Estate, at their website at castledreamrealestate.com. If you're interested in buying or selling property in the greater Tampa area, or email them at info@castledreamrealestate.com and let them know you heard about them on the Home Seller Home Buyer podcast. Tell your family, friends, and coworkers about Home Seller Home Buyer podcast. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to us, the Home Seller Home Buyer podcast, and catch us at the next episode. Thank you for listening, and stay informed.